very smart thing is was working together with pop stars quite early, like with Björk in 1994.
Yes.
How did this happen? Was this a strategic decision, or
no? It was there was a stylist called Judy Blame that worked for ID magazine and The Face a lot, and he introduced me to her because he thought she might like me, and actually she became like a really big supporter of my work in so many ways. I mean, she was even sponsoring us and stuff, and it was amazing. I mean, she's like a really warm, lovely person. So in a way, I think it wasn't the strategic thing at all. I didn't like calculate, oh my God, I'm going to dress Björk and it's going to make me... I didn't. It was just so like following your heart, really. And she, you know, in a way, it was a kind of period where she was just beginning to do her own, she left the Sugar Cubes and she was going to be, you know, solo. So she'd used one of my jackets in the cover of an album called Post. And then I made her clothes for her concerts and stuff, and then she wore other things in other magazines and covers and whatever. But it wasn't that, it was more that also she kind of had really inspiring people around her. So she had like a poet from Iceland, you know, she had Michel Gondry, who was a video director, and, you know, me, and then there was like Paul White, who was from Me Company, who did like the graphics. And
it's just mentioned like this between different cultures, etc. You're coming from a very multicultural background.
Yeah.
Which
Cyprus. Yeah.
Which when you were born was a Turkish, Greece.
Yeah. Now it's separate. Yeah.
Community.
I'm really a typical product.
But one doesn't exist anymore. It's like now it's
well, it does, but it's a separate part because we were. Yeah, but it was not. It came with its problems, but in a way, I feel more like a Londoner now than anything. I don't really feel. I mean, of course, ethnically, I'm Turkish Cypriot, but I feel more like I belong to the state of London, and I don't. Yeah, I don't feel. I connect with people who don't carry their ethnicity as their sense of identity. I think that ethnicity for me is color. I can expose myself. I go to Istanbul. I love Istanbul, and I can speak the language, but it's not my sense of defining myself. For a lot of people, their sort of sense of identity comes from the nation state. Mine doesn't. And so London for me is the nearest thing to a nation state.
Let's go talk a little about your clothes and your relationship to architecture. I also read somewhere that you somehow said you define clothes as an architecture for the body.
And you know, buildings are covers around you, so are clothes. So of course there are connections, and loads of architects have become designers and vice versa, have become fashion designers and vice versa. So of course there are connections, but I think it's more the principles that inspire me, and kind of study of life. In that sense, it inspires me. I don't think I look at a building and I want to make a dress like that building. It's not about that. And you know, like, I've been to like lots of talks about airports. I'm very interested in flight. Very interested in airport architecture and how it's kind of built, and the experience it's supposed to create for you and all that. But it's to do with, I guess, enriching my own way of looking at the body, and it's really about the body in that sense. And I feel it makes me a healthier designer to know about that.
Airplanes and airports are appearing in different work of your art, like in short videos, etc.
Because they're borders. Because they're borders. For me, airports are borders. And because all my life I went from one country to another, like I was always living between Cyprus and London and exposed to very alien cultures. So I moved around a lot as a child, which made me very flexible, but also I felt rootless and at times confused. And I think that aeroplanes and airports marked that separation and marked that back and forth aspect of my life. And that's why it became a bit of a thing in my life. But then I happen to also find airplanes like amazing structures, you know, they just wow me every time. And airports is almost like an extension of it, and you make you feel like you never left. You know, so you go into the corridor and you go into the airplane, and then your entertainment makes you feel like you're still in the airport terminal. I think there's this sort of peculiar sort of thing that interests me. But they were to do with, I think they were because, you know, they interest me because they were borders.